Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bex Flex. I'm really happy to have Dilly back with me today. Hello, Dilly.
Hi.
We thought we'd get together again, didn't we, Dilly?
We did.
Because there was a really good reaction. Sorry, my dog's just doing that. Really good reaction to the farming chat that we had before, and there was quite a lot of not controversy, but there was a bit of a lot of things to be discussed.
There was quite a lot of chat back, wasn't there?
There was. And shall we start with what that chat back was about?
Yeah. Okay. Let's
start that.
Do that.
Okay. So although that original podcast was not about veganism at all, it was about farming methods, wasn't it? And supporting our farmers and also protecting our countryside from the National Trust agenda. A lot of vegans got very, very upset about meat production anyway, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
So we thought today we'd talk about, this isn't about veganism.
It's not. No, everybody can eat anything that they want to eat. That's absolutely fine and no concern of ours.
No, but what we wanted to do today was to clarify the difference between traditional farmers like Dilly and the supermarkets who are, or the farmers that are under supermarket contract. Is that right, Dilly?
Yeah, well, yeah, there's a lot of contract in farming now. Yeah, so there's contract rearing as well.
So if it's contract rearing, that's a contract with the supermarket and the farmer, between the supermarket and the farmer.
I think it's another company.
So there's a middle.
Yeah, there's a middleman
between the supermarket and the farmer.
I think possibly the supermarket's end game would be it would be a huge
conglomerate.
That's it. That's the word. It would be a huge one of those to get that all together.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if you looked into it, you might find that the contract rearing is part of that group. But as far as I know, so I'm thinking of calf rearing and chicken rearing mainly, that have kind of like go under different names.
Yeah. So calf and chicken rearing, and that would be eggs as well, would it?
I think yes. So the chickens that are for meat are a different breed of chicken to the layers, eggs, but it would all be a contract.
So not necessarily the same farm.
No, no, it wouldn't quite be the same farm
production.
Yeah, they have to be really careful with chickens with infection. It has to be quite tightly run.
Right.
I think because the way they're reared, they're quite susceptible to diseases coming in. So
is that because there's a lot of them in a very small area, Dilly, by any chance?
There's lots of them in a very small area. And also they're hybrid for that
particular job.
Yeah.
So they've had little DNA tweaks, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, goodness me. If you get, so the chickens that are for eating that you buy from the supermarket now, they grow, I think, don't quote me, they've got a huge growth rate. I think they are finished in, I've got a feeling it's 6 weeks, but let's be generous and say 12 weeks. I think
I can believe that, because when you look at a chicken from the supermarket and then you buy one from a farm, they're very, very different birds. The meat is different. The texture of the meat is different. I think flavor of the meat
them as well. They pump them with like a dextrose liquid,
just to get them to put weight.
Yeah, when you cook a supermarket chicken,
it goes down to nothing.
Well, you get loads of sugary liquid out, don't you?
And and I just noticed that when I get, from the proper butcher, it doesn't shrink. When I buy one from the supermarket, it's tiny once you've cooked it.
It actually,
the water's been cooked out.
And it actually tastes and smells like chicken as well.
Yes. Yeah. It's just,
you take it out the other thing. Wow, that's really chickeny.
Yeah. And it tastes good. So, it is a different type of farming, really, isn't it? And I think that's what we want to clarify today, that how much farming's changed because of supermarkets.
Yeah. So shall I start with the chickens?
Yeah, let's tell us about it. Tell us about your chickens, Dilly.
They're not my chickens.
No, but you know what I mean.
So
tell us the chicken story.
So I don't know about you, but when I was younger, if we had a roast chicken, my mum would go to the butcher's and buy a capon.
All right.
And a capon is a castrated chicken. I've got no idea how you need to castrate a chicken. And I hope someone knows, because it'd be really nice if it came back. I don't know where you'd look. I don't know
how to castrate a chicken.
I wonder if you could Google it.
But I've never heard of a capon. So no, I mean, I have, because we talked about it the other week, but that was the first time I'd ever heard of a capon.
Even then, I think there were only a few butchers that would
did
that would do capon. But there would have been, so in our grandparents' day, there were probably capons everywhere.
Because they would only need one cockerel.
Yeah.
So any male chicks got castrated and then reared and eaten just like the hens, just like the girls.
So the hens, when they got eaten eventually, I think everybody would have kept hens for eggs, and then eventually they would have gone as broiler chickens. So those would have gone into
old bag chickens.
That's what we'd be now. We'd be
I'm an old boiler. I'm happy to accept that title.
We'd be on the broiler scale of things.
That's all right. We'll make nice soup or something.
Soup or stew or pies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's stringy.
That's all right. So capons then.
So the capons would have been the eating birds.
Yeah.
So there would, I don't know of any big traditional chicken farms
that do.
I don't know of any that have been, because the supermarket thing's been going for so long now. So, but I should imagine that there'd be somebody with layer hens, or maybe it was just smaller farms. Let's say it's smaller farms with some layers.
Yeah.
The hens would go broody. They'd hatch the chicks. Eventually, when you could tell which was male and which was female, because it's hard
when they're young, or generally,
it's really hard. You get auto sex breeds now, so the males are a different color than the females. That's another the chick thing that we'll talk about. So they would have grown all the hens until you could tell. The male birds then would have been castrated, apart from any nice fancy ones that may have been kept as replacement cockerels. The hens would have all gone off to be laid, and the castrated males would have been the capons, and they'd have been the ones that you'd have eaten for your Sunday roast.
So is it quite likely that when I was a little girl, I probably had a capon, but maybe didn't realise?
Yeah, probably. It would have just been chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we need to bring back the capon.
We do need to bring back capons. The return of the capon.
I might get that on a t-shirt. Everyone will go, what's she on about?
What's a capon?
Yeah, what's a capon? Yeah, but then it opens up that conversation.
Yeah.
Because I've learned so much from you since we did that first interview.
No, I didn't know I knew so much.
Well, there you go. You don't know until somebody asks you, but you've taught me loads in the last few weeks, which is why we want to share it on here, because so many people just do not understand how these things are working right now.
Well, really, I thank the vegans that were trying to give us a hard time, because it was in replying to them that I realised, or we both realised, the things that we realised and we're talking about now. So, and now we can explain it better and explain why
it's got the way it has.
Ditch the supermarket.
Yeah, because if you're into stopping animal cruelty, the first thing you can do is stop using the supermarket. That's basically bottom line. Put your money where your mouth is. Isn't it?
Definitely.
Okay, so back then we had the capon, which has now disappeared.
So that was how it did happen. So what happens now is there are chicken rearing units.
Even that's name I don't like. Chicken rearing units.
So they've all had a lot of controversy as well. So there's Lloyd Maunder, who everybody knows.
Yes, the butchers. Yeah.
There is. Do you remember there was a big thing about the Weird Sisters a while ago? It's 3 sisters. There was something. A lot of their chicken was recalled.
I don't remember that.
It's a while ago now. I just know because our local farm shop butcher, he just had a rush on with chicken for 2 weeks because people stopped buying their chicken from the supermarket because of this scare. I don't know what it was that happened. I don't watch the news.
I don't want to say I don't watch TV. I haven't for
No.
4 years, so I'm really out the loop with.
Yeah. No, there was a thing with, I think it was just they found too much bacteria in it or something, and they had to recall it.
There's a lot of paranoia around birds and
Yeah.
bacteria and
Yeah,
whatever at the
yeah.
moment anyway, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
You know,
That's another one.
another story. Yeah. So that was how it was, and it's changed now. So tell us.
So
tell us what happens now.
Is I know this because when we were agricultural contractors, we had a contract to clean out one of these chicken finishing units, and that was just on a small farm, and they did that. It's a small farm, about 75 acres. They kept sheep. I think they kept a few cows. They had this contract, and that enabled them to stay on their farm and keep farming and keep.
So in order to keep farming, they've taken the chicken contract.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. As we talked about before, where farmers are kind of cajoled into these things for to survive.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
and you cleaned it out. So what did you?
So we cleaned it out. Yeah.
Was it pretty bad?
It was disgusting.
Is this these pictures that we see of all these chickens that just have no room and they just sit?
It'd be the sort of thing that would be on a vegan website.
Yeah, exactly.
So we don't have a problem with vegans, by the way.
No, I was a vegan for years.
Yeah.
I was a veggie and a vegan for years. Yes, I was, but I got ill, so it doesn't work for me. I haven't got the right blood type, which is actually another thing, is that there's only one blood type of the 4 that thrives on a vegan diet. The other 3 blood types will get sick like I did. Wow. So yes.
Yeah. So the photos that you probably see, the disgusting ones,
it is going to be that sort
they put in welfare things, so they have perches for them, and they put in what do you call it, stimulating
stuff to give them something to think about.
Environmental stuff,
stimulation or whatever.
Yeah, there's a word for it.
I know, but I can't think of it. I'll shout it out when it pops in my head randomly.
So they put in that. So I'll start right at the beginning, because this was the one that finished them. So the chicken that you buy in the supermarket, that goes through several different rearing stages. So it starts off, somebody has a rearing unit for these hybrid chickens that grow really quickly, to keep as layers to collect the eggs. Okay. So they collect the eggs and they send them all away
somewhere else,
once a week probably, to somewhere else, and that they get incubated artificially. When the chicks hatched, they get loads. So that's one contract with the eggs, another contract
with the hatching,
and then from the hatching to the finishing unit. So I used to, this contract that we had cleaning out the chicken houses, that used to start for us with day-old chicks. So it wasn't my enterprise, but we were called in to help sometimes. So we used to get day-old or 2-day-old chicks arrive on a lorry in huge crates, and they used to be taken out. We used to walk into the chicken shed with them and then chuck them out on the floor. And they all used to be okay. They're a lot more they're all a lot more tough. It's like babies.
Hardier
than you think. So we throw them out on the floor, go and get another crate, throw it on the floor. After a while, your feet would automatically sense where they could touch or not, until probably about 50 crates went down in this chicken house. And then we didn't have anything there. There was room then, because you've got to have room for them to grow.
Oh, of course. So when they're little,
so it quite often says these birds are free to roam, and what that means is there's hatches in the door, and they can go out if they want to.
Do they go out?
Not really, no.
Do you think they don't sort of know about outside almost, or it's all happening indoors?
Probably.
So they just stay indoors.
There's light inside. It's really, really well regulated with the temperature and the airflow. Everything's.
So free to roam doesn't mean that they're wandering around in a lovely field. It means
they've got access, and a lot of it it says this has been reared with access to the outside. It doesn't say it goes outside. It just says it's got access to the outside.
So the chances are that may never have been outside in reality.
So then so after the 6 weeks, or we're being generous, aren't we, say 12 weeks, they'd be fully grown chickens, and another lorry would come
with the chicks. Oh no, to take
an
them.
empty lorry.
To take
They'd
them.
be put back on crates, and they'd go off on the lorry to the abattoir. I expect it would be a special chicken processing abattoir, because it would be different equipment. And I don't know about you, but I can kind of like feel the vibration off of
Certain
stuff,
places.
and well, off of the
Crates.
off of the packs of meat in the
I see what you're
supermarket.
saying. Yeah.
Have a little tune in.
I'll tune in. Yeah.
Well, don't go there.
Well, no, I'm trying not to, Dilly. I'm trying to do my
But
best
if
not
you
to go to a
If you
supermarket,
fancy an
which is
afternoon out,
actually quite hard.
go for a walk down the chicken aisle and
just-
have a little tune in and see if you can pick it up.
Yeah, no, I don't.
It's probably because I know the trauma that I'm a little bit tuned in naturally
to that
anyway.
vibration.
Yeah. So then my husband used to go in and clear out the sheds. There'd be dead chickens in there. But one day he came home. I think I'd cooked him, and they stink to high heaven. The chicken poo is really quite high protein. One day he came home, and I think I cooked him chicken for tea, and it didn't go down very well.
He was like,
Don't
"Don't want that tonight."
He said, "I've had a chicken riding on my," so it was a dead one that he'd loaded up into the trailer, and it had like dropped down, and he said, "I had chicken riding on the back of my trailer all day. I can't eat that." So so it is. Yeah, he used to. He's like a tough guy,
tough farmer,
grown up around farming.
Yeah.
We were really young then. We didn't know what we know now, but even that kind of traumatized him a little bit. It was a job that he never looked forward to doing.
Yeah.
So so that's, and then when you think now, if you go to, if you can remember
Way
when
back.
you went to the supermarket
Last time,
and like there's aisles of chicken, isn't there? There's whole chicken, chicken leg,
chicken wings,
breast,
chicken thighs, chicken, diced chicken, chicken strips as well. I noticed they did it strips.
Yeah, they call them goujons.
So there's, I mean, and I think at the moment, because of the price of food, a lot of people are only able to afford to eat chicken.
Well, chicken's going up because all these big houses, they all need heating and ventilating.
Okay, so the costs are going up.
So I think this chicken rearing unit, the guy, he had it was very early days, so it was all very
high tech.
It was really high tech for then. We're talking sort of late 80s. But he used to have, if there was a power cut, he used to have to like rush in and put a generator on.
Wow,
because they needed the lights
that,
all the time, and the heat had to be
exact.
It had really tight perimeters for the heat, so you'd have to like whiz home
and get the Jenny on. Yeah.
So it didn't.
Before the chickens all perish.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the meat chickens.
So that's the chicken thing. What I was going to say was that chicken meat aisle with all those bits of chicken.
Oh yes.
Can you imagine how many chickens that would be just on the
on that one aisle?
That would be just on that supermarket aisle for that day that you saw it.
Yeah.
And then that's got to be probably loads of it's chucked out. And then that's all being replenished.
Yeah, and this is the other thing that we're aware of, and probably would be worth a deep dive, is how much food we're wasting all the time. How much food the supermarkets.
Because of supermarket shelves and the way
so it's the sort of supermarket situation that's causing that food wastage as well, isn't it? Okay, so
that's the chicken thing, and that's the welfare that is connected to that. So I was saying about the auto-sexing breeds, because male chickens now don't really have a place.
Oh, bless them.
Yeah.
They've become, they're not needed.
So I presume, I don't know, that's my only experience that I've had with chickens, not one that I'd want to
repeat,
no. So there would be the other side of that, which would be the layers. So with the layers, they only want the females. They're a different hybrid.
They're different. Yeah. Okay. So they've done different hybridization
Yeah.
for the layers to make sure that they're going to
Yeah.
be about layers.
So these meat chickens, I don't know. I've heard that if one of these chickens gets out of it's like a concentration camp, isn't it?
Yeah.
If it gets out of there and they find it in the bushes like later dead, like huge, because they've been hybridized to grow so quickly, and I think they kind of go off their feet as well.
They can't take their weight.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of disgusting force feeding situation, really, isn't it?
It is. So when you go to the supermarket, even if you only buy veg at the supermarket, you're still funding that.
Yeah, because I was getting sort of cleaning fluids and things like that, and now I'm trying not to even do that. And it's quite hard. It's quite hard. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, and I live in Devon, where I've got a hardware store down the road, and I've got, for those other things, but it's still you have to think about it, like, oh, I need,
you've got to train your brain, haven't you?
I need some black bin liners. Where can I,
Well, that's it. If you need black bin liners, sellotape, something for tea,
birthday card.
Yeah, that's your one-stop shop, isn't it?
Yeah. So which is,
and we're all tight for time now.
Yes, and that's how that kind of monopoly has happened, because it's so convenient. You've got parking outside, you pull up, you run in, grab a few bits, and off you go.
Yeah.
But we've got to start thinking a little bit deeper about it, haven't we? If we want food production to stay, to go back to the old ways, but also if we let it keep going the path it's going, food quality is just going downhill, and cruelty to the animals is more.
It is that, and it's not at the moment. There are farmers that supply to the supermarkets, and they don't want to change, but eventually it's going to kill out those farmers. That's the really bad thing. They can't see that
long term, they're shooting themselves in the foot, actually, by keeping on with the contracts.
And I know why they do it. They've got to keep their turnover, so they're not making any money, so they've got to keep their turnover really high, so that they can keep everybody happy. So they're
under pressure with it.
They are under pressure.
No one's having a good time with this setup.
No, I don't think. No, least of all the animals.
No, least of all the animals. There was quite a bit of controversy about eggs as well, about the male chicks. So, can you just talk us through that?
Chicks. So I don't know how that starts off. I imagine it's the same. There are certain breeding like contracts as well, where they have the eggs that get sent off to be incubated to hatch. So a lot of the big egg producer hens are auto-sexing breeds. So they'll be a different colour, or they'll have different markings. So you can tell the males.
So you can tell as soon as they've hatched.
I think it's 2 or 3 days
after
they've hatched. But you can tell the males
straight away,
quite quickly. So they all get bundled off and go to the pet food store.
I mean, firstly, they get sold for snake food, you said to me.
I think so, yeah. Sold for snake food. Some of them go to zoos, don't they? I've seen zoos, and they get frozen.
So again, there's another little income from these little male chicks. They can be sold on for food for the animals. So these pictures we've seen of them being chucked into a sort of mashing machine.
I've heard of that, but I haven't ever seen it.
I've seen a clip of it years ago, but I mean, we don't even really know if that's what was going on there.
I don't know about that, but they are. I know that they're frozen.
Yeah, they can sell them for food. They're not going to churn them up in a machine.
No. I know that they're frozen. Whether they're stunned before they're frozen, I don't know. And I
like to think. I highly doubt.
No.
But those vegans that get upset about the male chicks, again, stop using your supermarket. Because that is where it's the root cause of that is.
The most humane and kindest thing that you can do if you're worried about animal welfare is find a local farm and buy eggs
direct.
from, and then if you're worried about the life of the bird that's produced, you can ask to see that. I only keep hens as pets. I've only got 20.
Only the 20.
Only 20,
Only the
only
20.
20 pets.
That's lovely.
But if anybody wants to see my hens or how they're kept, yeah, I've got no problem at all.
And that's kind of how it should be, really. It should be that it's no problem. And actually,
yeah, come and see. Sometimes I say come and see, but I'm really sorry, I should have cleaned them out yesterday and I haven't done it yet today, so you have to take what you find. But
you might smell a bit of chicken poop.
Yeah, it might be a bit pooey.
Sorry guys, I got a dog that's squiffling around on the floor. Yeah, so again, this sort of chick issue with chicks being, you know, sort of destroyed, male chicks, can be avoided by not going to the supermarket. Is there anything else you want to say about that?
On the chicken side,
on the chicken front,
I don't think so. I think we've covered chicken things.
Okay, so can I bring up something else?
Yeah, do.
I want to talk about Disney deaths and Disney animals, because when this was all kicking off, obviously you got some grief from some vegans and so did I. So we were both kind of dealing with that, which was fine. You know, I actually like debate and discussion.
I do too.
I love it. But I found that there was no debate, because when you come back with things, it doesn't fit with this propaganda. So then they just disappear. But what I've learned from you, I mean, we're both intuitives. You're a sort of animal whisperer type. That's how I see you. And I do healing work, as most people know. So we're both a bit in tune with energy. And you've talked to me a lot about, you know, when you're, you know, that you love your animals, you take care of them. So when it's their time, there's still emotion there with it. But we've talked about when we've had to put our dogs to sleep, and how my dog, who hadn't got up for a couple of months when anyone came round, when the vet came to put him to sleep, got up, wagged his tail, and was obviously really pleased. And he passed so quickly. And I just thought, wow, I knew that he was grateful that the vet was there, that he knew why the vet was there, and he was happy to go. So we're brought up with this rhetoric around death. We fear it, and that's very much our culture in the West. If we were living in India or whatever, we would probably feel differently about it. I don't have any fear of death, but it's quite normal in the West to have this big hoo-ha about it. So we were talking about the fact that actually animals, their relationship with death is very, very different to humans. And then that led on, I said to you, it's like the Disney thing.
It is.
Where Disney have personified animals. They've made them into people.
They put them in families, don't they?
Yeah, and they speak, and they, you know, there's so many films actually where there's animals in there. But you mentioned Bambi, which was around when I was a child, you know, so. And I can remember being taken to the cinema and crying my eyes out when.
I can remember my dad crying when we watched Bambi.
There you go. It worked, didn't it? That whole thing of, we all got invested in the story. And when Bambi's mum was shot, wasn't she?
Yeah, I should have revised the story.
I should have rewatched Bambi and had a good old cry.
I know it's very sad.
But I just remember, I feel like the mum died, or maybe it was that. But I know there was a bit where Bambi, you just like, oh my goodness, you know, you're crying. But actually, that's not really how it is in nature, is it?
No, nature is really cruel. I mean, you've only got to watch the wildlife programs, because they show nature, whereas
as how it is.
Flawless. So yeah, everyone seems to think that animals live in a little family unit with mummy, daddy, and the kids, and that when their gran dies, they all cry. Yeah, it isn't really like that in the animal world, is it? No, not at all. So we've put on our we've given them all human. Well, I think human emotions now are wrong. And we've put those human emotions onto the animals. All animals, yeah. And we imagine that, like us, they're frightened of death, or they don't want to die, or they don't. From what I've
witnessed with animals, they don't see death like that
No,
at all.
no, from what I've witnessed too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So maybe not just the vegans, but all of us have got to have a bit more of the perspective that they're not as attached to life as we are. We're very attached to life. And when we were talking about this, I was in a park with the dog, and there was a pigeon who had a broken wing. So while I was sort of listening to your messages and whatever, I watched this pigeon. You were actually talking about.
I was talking about the sheep, wasn't I?
Yes, and you must tell us that in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But I was listening to it. I could see that the pigeon had a broken wing, was not going to fly again. On a bird with a broken wing is pretty much a dead bird. But as I was watching these crows, 2 crows were dive bombing the bird and pulling feathers out of its back end. And I knew that those crows were going to have that pigeon. Now, if I'd have been brave, I would have gone over there and broken its neck, put it out of its business. But I can't physically
I
do
can't
that.
do that either.
So I had to just walk away. But nature deals with it.
Yeah,
that pigeon would be gone in I don't know how long, but fairly quickly that day.
And also it would have supported other lives as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because the crows would have had their bit, and then there's all the insects and this and that and the other, but it would have fed sort of a whole plethora of insects and stuff. Anyway, please do tell us your story about the sheep, because it's important people realize what a natural death is for an animal.
So when we started farming for ourselves, so we were in charge now, so we could decide,
got your own farm and do it your way,
we could decide what we were going to do. So I was going through the sheep with my husband, and every year after they're weaned, we go through them, check they've got teats, check their teeth, because sheep grow teeth every year until they get to a full mouth, and then they lose teeth. I
didn't know that.
So then they get a broken mouth, and then they can't eat properly. So we
got to look after their
check their udder. So if they can feed 2 lambs, check their teats, put a hand on the back, see if they're keeping on weight okay. And quite often there's a few old girls that need to go, and some of them have been friends. We've had them for between 5 and 9 years in some cases. So, and as they get older, they get more character, and they often get names. So there's our first couple of years, there's a little group
of old ladies. Is that what you say, Dilly?
Old ladies.
Stringy old ladies.
And I looked at them with my husband. I said, "Oh, she's really lovely. Can't we keep her? Can't we keep her and just let them die here?" And I think he just got too bored. I wore him down.
So I better please the wife and let her keep a couple of sheep.
Okay, then we'll keep them. And so these ones ran with what we do actually is run them with the lambs. So even our coal ewes now, we run them with the lambs, and it just sort of shows the lambs what way to do and stuff.
How to be.
So we just run them with the lambs so that they couldn't get to the ram and get pregnant again. And so what happens is, as sheep lose their teeth, they can't get the nutrients they need. Sheep need a really precise balance of minerals. If the minerals go out of balance,
it's quite quick for them to
they go down. And it's horrible to see. They go down on their side, and they kind of don't have the coordination to get back up, and they're just on their side kicking and struggling to try and get up, and they can't get up. So if that happens in the daytime and we see it, we can whip out with the quad and the trailer, bring them into the barn and put them out of their misery.
So that's the moment that once they've gone down like that, that they're not going to recover.
You can do.
They're just going to lie there.
Sheep sanctuaries would try and pump them full of things, and they might keep them alive for another couple of weeks.
But it wouldn't be long.
They wouldn't be happy sheep, in my mind.
Yeah.
So if it happens in the daytime, we can put them out of their misery. That's all fine. If that happens at night, which it generally does, because they go down as it gets colder.
So as the temperature drops of an evening, that would probably make it more likely that they would go down.
Probably use up the last of their reserves and go down. So we, in that case, find them in the morning on the floor. They're normally dead by then. but in the night a fox or a badger has come along and started eating them, the tenderest bits of the back end.
The rump.
Well, actually they start at the udder,
Oh, interesting.
and then from there they can get into the gut and the intestines.
But what you're saying there, Dilly, is like with a dog, if it kills a rabbit, its throat, it's dead quickly. With an animal going down like that, they're being eaten slowly from the back end up, so they are not going to die quickly.
Fox or a badger,
yes,
can't take on a sheep like that. Well, there's no need for them to. A dog or a fox will catch a rabbit, and there's a chase, and then they'll catch it and shake it to kill it.
It's dead.
There is no chase or struggle with these, because they're already
sitting there
dying,
waiting,
Yeah.
But that's a very long, drawn out, painful death.
They know what's going to happen,
and that is a natural death. That is a natural death,
and it's cruel.
Yeah. So when the reason I think that story is so important is because those people that think it's cruel to take an animal and
also, Bex, that also reaffirms our Disney thing.
Yes.
If the other sheep said, "Oh no, look, Betty's gone down. The fox is gonna eat her alive," they'd all stand around her and protect her.
Do the Disney thing. They'd all be there linking arms.
You're not touching.
You're not having Betty. Back off. But it doesn't happen, does it?
No, they just carry on eating grass, and they go, "Oh, fox is over there with Betty, so we're safe.
We'll go over here."
Yeah. So that.
But the point is, that's it. And when I saw that bird, a pigeon, they were pulling the feathers out of the back end, and I thought, wow, they're going to go in the same way. They're going to go in the back end.
Yeah. Which
means you're not going to die quickly.
No, and isn't that stressful to be old?
Yes,
out in the field and think, well, one day I know what's going to happen to me.
I'm going to get eaten alive. Yeah. Basically,
we had a really gorgeous, lovely bull called Dilly, and we all thought the world of him. He was getting on, and he went off about 2 years ago now, and I didn't hesitate. I knew that he had to go, because a bull going down, even if you wouldn't
get him up again anyway, physically.
It would be so distressing. So he had to go, and I saw, and I'm sure that they know the deal, and they're okay. Well, if you had a choice, if you knew that you were going to die, and someone said, right, I'll leave you in the field where a fox or a badger might eat you, or we'll do it quickly. Yeah, cleanly. I know what I'd choose.
Well, and people, to be fair, people do choose that, because there's a place called Digitatus or whatever it is in Switzerland, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's even, we've got hospital beds and pain relief.
Yes, and yet people will still choose.
Yeah.
So, it's not, I think the rhetoric around sort of animals dying is very warped by movies and cartoons that have given us the idea that animals think and feel like we do.
Yeah.
And they don't.
No.
It's very intuitive. They're not clinging on to life.
No.
And
yeah. Another example of that is, I had a horse who was not well. As soon as I made the decision, so he was kind of like hobbling along on 3 legs for a while. As soon as I made the decision and phoned the vet, he perked up. And I phoned the vet and I said, I think I've made a mistake. He's really perked up. And the vet said, no, they do that. I think they're relieved when they know the time's coming.
I know a few friends of mine who've done the same thing with dogs, and then got he's been since I I mean, I didn't have that insight you've just given me at that time, so it's like they put it off, and then the dog went downhill again, then they booked it again. Like the relief of, finally this is gonna be over. And
I think it's important to stress that I don't know, well, actually I do know about other people that their life is respected and honored on whatever level you're. I'm very spiritual, so I do it openly, and I know that I'm doing it, but I've seen other farmers and other people, I'm sure they don't know that they're doing it, but I watch them and I think, you're doing it.
Respecting that animal's
Just
life.
respect it in, in what way that they can.
I mean, I don't think you can be a farmer and not have that respect for your animals.
I don't know any other industry that works 7 days a week and happily, without asking for any extra money, will happily and willingly get out of bed in the middle of the night for however many nights in the row is needed to check their animals. That you just could not do it.
I mean, farming is really the correct husbandry of animals, isn't it?
It is,
and
but that has been
well by because of the sort of demand of supermarkets and stuff like that, that husbandry has just gone out of the window. And that's what a lot of the animal cruelty problems are. They're not farmers like you. They are supermarket funded farming. Because I was sort of, when we had that initial talk, I thought they were actually farms that were owned by the supermarkets, but it's not that.
Well, they may be on the structure, but as far as I know, that they've got different names. So I don't know any chicken rearing units that are called Tesco.
No. So
and the calf rearing that I was thinking of, that's Blade.
Right.
So it might be partly owned by supermarket. Who knows? Might even be a conglomerate.
Conglomerate. One of those one
of those things.
Yeah.
Of supermarkets that have shares in Blade.
It'd be interesting to have a little dig about actually on who owns what, who's funding what. But when you break it down, it's the supermarkets and their demands and also their pricing structures that cause the problem.
Milk? Should we talk about that? Dairy? Have we got time to talk about dairy?
What will happen is when it'll give us 10 minutes, it'll say,
okay,
I haven't got my phone here, I don't know, but it usually says,
so the dairy industry is a brilliant example of how the supermarkets have controlled the farmer's price. The farmer has a tighter margin and the welfare has gone down. Every dairy farmer that I know loves their cows because they're coming into the parlour twice a day. So I've got a suckler herd and I see my girls once a day. If they're out in the field now, once a day, I see them from afar at the minute because they're all out in the field. I look at them, think they're all right. She's not calved yet. And then I go off and have another look at them in the evening if I'm about, but I've checked them and that's that. Whereas a dairy farmer, every single day, his cows coming into the parlour, he sees them
one by one coming in.
So before you put the clusters on a cow, you always touch it, otherwise you get kicked in the face. Right. So they're touching it, they're saying hello,
hi, yeah, just gonna do this, put the things on,
wiping their teats and then putting. So they really know their cows and you cannot do it. Dairy farming is that it's such a hands-on industry every single day of the year.
There
are no breaks. I've milked on farms, but I've never done dairy farming myself, and I wouldn't want to. Even though I love what I do and I love my animals, it's such a tie, twice a day.
So it's very intensive.
It's very intensive
to be a dairy farmer.
So what's happened with dairy farming is the supermarkets use the staples to entice their customers in.
So milk, bread.
What else is there?
Potatoes, considered a staple.
Yeah. So let's say milk and bread. So they want to bring the price of milk down as low as they can to say that our milk and our bread are this much, everybody come to us. So they've driven down the price of the milk. At the same time, the running standards have gone up. So in the olden days, when my father-in-law was a boy and he used to milk, he used to have dual purpose cows. I think they were South Devons that he used to milk. So the males would go for meat. Eventually they'd be slow growing.
And the women would still
have quite a high milk yield. And then he used to milk every morning, every evening, put the milk in a churn. The churn used to stand outside. If you can see them on old farms now, there's an old milk stand. If you were lucky and you were closer to town, somebody from the dairy would come and collect it. Otherwise, you'd have to take it in really early in the morning, because otherwise the sun would heat it up.
Would warm it up.
So as the supermarkets kicked in, the dairies, the smaller dairies that were in each town, disappeared.
Got knocked out.
And most towns have got a dairy hill, dairy lane.
Mm.
So these small dairies got kicked out, and they were all bigger dairies. A tanker would come. The cost of moving from that kind of dairy farming, where you had the churn, 5 or 6 cows in a churn, down to the dairy every day, to having to put in a bulk tank, because now the delivery would be once a week, because a tanker would come
and take it,
collect it.
Yeah, from the, because I've seen the big milk tankers, they're the round, aren't they?
Yeah.
They got, because they're refrigerated. You see them going up and down the M5.
So the supermarkets, with their milk contracts, bought out all the small dairies, killed the milkman. The dairy farmers had to invest a lot of money now, because they had to refrigerate their milk, put it in a bulk tank, put in there's in a dairy room in a dairy farm now. There's so much
equipment.
Yeah. So that was a huge investment.
So the farmers had to lay out that money to get that equipment.
Yeah. So that's all good. So the bigger dairy, who was the big ones?
Dairy Crest.
Yeah.
Unigate.
Arla's the main one now, I think.
Mm.
But anyway, so these big dairies would go to their farm and say, right, if you put in this bulk tank, if you do all this, we'll give you so much pence a litre. Farmer goes, great. Gets a loan from the bank, changes his milking parlour around, buys some new cows, some more higher yielding cows.
Because he's got to keep up with the contract.
He's got a big
to produce this amount.
Yeah, that's it. So put in his bulk tank, his refrigerating unit. The tanker comes once a day, collects his milk, he gets a big check, thinks this is brilliant.
Where's the catch, Dilly?
So, well, eventually, where do you think? So then the supermarket lowers the price of milk, and then the farmer he's still got to pay his bank loan. He's
got to pay all his loans back. He's got to pay his staff.
So what do you think the farmer does?
Well, he's stuck.
He needs higher yielding cows.
But he can't go out and buy more cows.
No, so he gets higher yielding cows. So he keeps his cows, he doesn't put them out to grass so much. Feeds them in, feeds them more concentrates.
And the not so good food that is
not so
natural.
Good food. It's not natural food, but it really
boosts the milk production.
And then you start to selective breed out of your cows. So instead of running a bull with your cows, you get
artificial insemination.
Yeah.
So the husbandry goes down.
The husbandry goes right down, because the yields need to come up. Because I think dairy farmers are always like that. Cost versus price. Sometimes it does that, maybe that, but then it quickly goes back down to that. So
the farmer's trapped,
but it's all supermarket driven.
Yes, this is the whole real point of this podcast, is to really bring it home to people that please stop blaming farmers. It's supermarkets, and as a consumer, farmers have
got to change, and farmers will change, but we, like me and you, need to change first. And we need to think, some farmers are already ahead of the game, and they've got more traditional breeds of cows again. They're selling raw milk,
and they're going back.
I think it's called dry weaning. They keep their cows and calves separated during the day, during the night, and then they milk once during the day.
Yeah.
So some farmers are ahead of the game and doing it, but most are still, they've got huge bank loans.
I was going to say they're stuck probably.
Mhm.
They're stuck in the debt
But
trap.
they still love their cows,
Of course.
and they're
And
still
probably,
still trying their best.
I mean, if I was a farmer, I wouldn't want to be farming like that. I'd want to be farming like you farm. I wouldn't want to be stuck in with loans and
but
not letting my
Bex,
cows out in the fields.
You've grown up on a dairy farm. You've seen your granddad and your dad milk cows. Now it's all yours. So this has been so gradual. So what do you do when it's all yours? Do you go, right, I'm not going to do this anymore?
No.
I'm going to sell the lot of it. I'm going to sell my cows.
No, you're going to want to carry on. And also when the farmers were offered these things initially, they seemed good for the farmer as well.
Do you remember do you remember people talking about milk quota?
Yes.
And the milk marketing board?
Yeah.
So those things kind of protected the farmer, but as the supermarkets got more power, it's all been phased out now. There is no milk marketing board. There's definitely no.
So there's no one standing up for the people.
Nobody needs milk quota anymore because so many dairy farmers have, like you've said, gone, I can't do this anymore.
It's really understandable, actually.
And then really sadly, the ones that are left, most of the ones that are left are the really big ones who have probably got robotic systems and they don't have that contact with the cows.
So
we're talking
it's
about
a different kind of farming again, isn't it?
But that's supplying the supermarket. So
the real cut and thrust of this podcast is really make an effort to not use supermarkets for anything.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think, and do you know what? I think I think that's a really big ask for some people. I really do. So just think really carefully, and maybe instead of going to the supermarket once a week, see if you can stretch it to once a month, and then gradually, as you get more, we're the same with our cleaning products, aren't we? As you gradually find more ways and you can organize yourself better, and you can keep a store cupboard of things, and it takes a while, doesn't it?
It does take a while
to retrain yourself.
Yes.
So I think it's a really big ask to say to everybody, stop using the supermarket.
Yeah, it is a big ask, but it's an idea that needs to be
definitely
in our minds, that this is not good. I think on so many levels. It isn't just farmers, it's the environment, what they've done with palm oil and Supermarkets have got a lot to answer for.
They really
and we shouldn't be supporting, if we can avoid it, companies that are trashing planets, people's, and lives, which is what's going on. And like you've said, these things creep in.
It happens so gradually.
And it happens gradually, and that's how we suddenly go, oh my goodness, the A, B, and C has meant we're here now, and this is what this means. So it's really important for us to realize that this is like most of it, it's consumer led. If we all changed the way that we wanted to buy food, they would
our habits.
They will follow suit.
Okay,
Dilly, is there anything else you want to add?
I could go on and on and on about milk production and cows. Shall I do a little bit about pasteurization?
Yes, that would be good.
So,
although I am going to have an interview hopefully with
that would be
that
amazing.
Guy.
So I'll just do it really quickly.
Yeah.
So before the Industrial Revolution, we all lived in villages and towns. We all were connected to the farmer,
to a local farm,
and we go along probably with our mug or
with a jug, maybe,
and collect our milk every day, and then we take that home, and everything, that milk wouldn't be pasteurized.
No, straight out the other.
And the hygiene as well would be nothing, not a patch on the hygiene that we've got now.
You might have washed your hands before you milked the cow, but that would be it, wouldn't it?
Might have wiped the poo off the cow's teats before you did it, and washed your hands. But I think they all wore a white cap. I think that was probably it. And there'd probably be a fly that would land in it. That was fine, and there was hardly any. TB wasn't a thing then. What happened with the cows? So milk raw milk has its own antibodies. So you've got a healthy cow, it's got good quality, healthy milk with its all own pathogens and antibodies.
Bit like
so
our
it
milk.
so it
It's the
kills.
same.
So
Yeah.
if there's any nasties in it, the milk
Killed
sorts
it.
that out.
Mm.
So after the Industrial Revolution, more people lived in the towns and cities, and they said, we want our milk. Where are we going to get our milk from? There was no refrigeration. Hygiene, like we said, wasn't so good. So traveling it wasn't an option. So they brought the cows into the outskirts, closer to the outskirts of the towns,
On the edges.
into the cities.
Yeah.
There was no grass there. So they fed the cows all their byproducts, beer, the leftovers, hops, stale bread, the wheat that didn't,
scraps and whatever.
So the health of the cows went down. So the pathogens in the milk weren't so good. So people got ill, and then they pasteurized the milk.
So that was why they started pasteurizing it in the first place.
Yeah,
because actually it was about supplying the city.
It was supplying the city, and it was and the health of the cows
went down. I mean, I actually prefer the taste of raw milk. It's completely different to me.
Completely different. It's just so nice to get non-hydrogenated milk, isn't it? Where you've got the milk and then you've got the fat.
And I think it tastes slightly grassy. I know that sounds weird, but I feel like I can taste the sweetness slightly of grass.
It doesn't taste like milk, does it?
No, it doesn't. It's a different. It's a different product to my mind. But hopefully, I'm going to have someone on to talk about raw milk and the benefits of drinking raw milk. I'd like to push that as well for people to understand that raw milk has a lot of healing benefits. Actually, sorts out a lot of autoimmune problems and also lactose intolerance of all things.
Yeah.
So
who'd have thought?
There you go. It just goes to show that probably lactose intolerant situation might be to do with what's being done to the milk before we ingest it.
So the short of it all is if you care about your countryside, because the countryside looks the way it does because it's farmed. And if it's not farmed, it's not gonna
look like that.
And it is beautiful. So, and then if you care about animal welfare, even if you don't eat meat, don't go to the supermarket. Anything that you buy at the supermarket is supporting that whole structure.
Yes, then it's just not a structure that's
no. We haven't even talked about the supermarket veg, but that's not grown in a healthy way. That's not gonna do your insides
any good.
No, not as much as buying some.
It doesn't even taste. Again, it doesn't taste of much.
No. If you buy a bag of salad, it's got a funny taste to it.
Well, they wash it in chlorine, don't they?
Yeah.
So you got that as well. And also things like carrots and tomatoes and that, I don't taste of anything.
No.
Then when you buy it from the farmer's shop,
when you grow it,
you grow it yourself.
This carrot tastes amazing.
Yeah, actually, it tastes of carrot.
Actually, no, it just tastes of carrot.
And tomatoes are the one. I mean, a lot of people grow tomatoes in their yards and their gardens, and I mean, they're like so different to the ones you buy in the supermarket. So that should tell us something about supermarket, the standard of the food in the supermarket.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dilly, I think if you're all right,
I'm good. Yeah,
we'll leave it there. We can always come back and do another one on veg at a later date.
Well, I don't know much about veg.
Well, we'll find out.
We'll
get a veg grower in. Anyway, thank you very much, Dilly.
No worries.
And I hope that was helpful and informative for everybody. See you all again.
Bye-bye.